And we've mentioned here, Dylan has cut out some counter spells. It's just Daze and Force of Will. No additional Spell Pierces or Fluster Storms or anything else to be found.
And he's got that one main deck copy of Pyroblast, but that's not really all that great against Storm. And he's going to start things off here with a copy of Delver Secrets. Now, Donegan, number 14, your Open Series leaderboard. He's one of the players, if things do go right for him and things go wrong for other players, speaking of Jeff Hooglin and Stephen Mann, he could end up making it to the Players' Championship. He's off to a great start. He's doing his job.
Exactly. Who knows if he can pull it off. At this point, it's up to players like Jeff to have a tough tournament, but Dylan doing what he can.
Force of Will, Lightning Bolt, Misty Rainforest, Flooded Strand are the cards that Donegan is revealing here. So it looks like he's mulligan a 6 to Jim's Gataxian Probe. So Jim will take 2. He's down to 18. He'll draw a mystery card. And he'll pick up a copy of Polluted Delta. You see there's another probe there in Davis's hand. So if he does have some sort of turn 1 win here, he's clear for takeoff.
His hand looks pretty stacked. I think we might see a turn 1 kill here.
I see at least 2 copies of Dark Ritual, so that's pretty scary.
A Infernal Tutor, a Lion's Eye Diamond.
Hey, he said, let me fire off this probe.
Ooh da lally.
He's down to 16. Mystery card coming. This is a Duress. Doesn't even need that.
Well, it's nice backup. If he can't go up on turn 1, he can Duress the Force of Will and try next turn.
That's true.
But I think he's got it.
We don't see turn 1 kills in this format all that often. We don't see it with Storm that often either. You'll see turn 2 or turn 3 quite a bit, but a turn 1 kill with this deck doesn't happen a lot. But being able to probe and see that the coast is clear and be able to kill on turn 1 is part of the reason that people like to play this deck. Yeah, he actually has wow, he's got a Cabal Ritual too.
Yeah, this is, he might just have it all rolled up already. Storm count's already 2.
Let's make it 3.
4. Dark Ritual is 5, then 6, then 7 from the Infernal Tutor.
This was
carry the 1, and I think that Dylan is dead.
This was a good draw.
Let's see how it all plays out.
Yeah. Dark Ritual number 2, up to 5 mana. He's got 5 cards in the graveyard.
I think trying to see if there's any way for him to get to the threshold, and he can with the Lion's Eye Diamond plus casting the Duress.
Yes. He'll have to do it in a weird fashion. Well, not with the Lion's Eye, the Lotus Petal.
Yeah, sorry, excuse me, the Lotus Petal.
That's
plus,
okay.
Yep.
Here is the Duress. The Lion's Eye Diamond would be a touch awkward. There goes the Force of Will.
I would actually take the Lightning Bolt just to show him what's up.
Yeah, you keep that blue card. I don't care. There's Cabal Ritual.
I want to say that I won turn 1 through Force of Will.
He's up to 7 black now. Infernal Tutor. Doesn't even have to hold priority and crack LED. I mean, he can if he wants to, but that's his last card.
Yeah, he could add red mana here and go get Pass in Flames, but I think the Storm count's sufficient to just win with Tendrils.
He's got 1, 2, 3, 4. Probe, Ritual, Duress, Petal. That's 6, 7. Oh my, jeez. Yeah, he's gonna crack this.
Yeah, he can just Infernal Tutor for another Infernal Tutor to add to the Storm count, or go get Pass in Flames, or it's choose your own adventure. Or he just has it already.
You're just dead. That's a good draw. Well done. Patrick giving him a round of applause.
Very nicely done, Jim.
Jim, good deck switch, I would say. He's up a game with Storm over Blue Red Delver. Well, to Dylan's credit, he got to play a Delver Secrets. Got to play a namesake card.
That was a very nice draw for Dylan, too, you know. And what was impressive about that is even if Dylan had the ability to Force a Will on the first turn, it would not have been good enough.
Yes, he would have lost.
So
neat.
You know, keep that in mind.
I love Legacy. Let's take a look at the sideboard here. We'll start with Donegan. He's got 4 copies of Cabal Therapy, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Sulfuric Vortex, Trickery, a Dismember, a Surgical Extraction, a Hydroblast, a Smash Smithereens, and very bad handwriting for a 17-year-old child. Do they teach anything in high school?
Definitely some demerits coming for this handwriting.
This is unbelievable. If his teachers are listening,
yeah,
he should have a C, maybe a D. This would not fly.
Penmanship needs improvement.
I understand everything is done on computers nowadays where there is no penmanship, but this is
yeah.
What should he bring in?
This is it looks like kind of like a ransom note. It doesn't even really look like a deck list. He's got the 4 Cabal Therapies. That's a great starting point here. And then you get some more narrow cards. The 2 copies of Pyroblast. The Storm deck's not that dense on blue cards, but anytime you trade 1 for 1, it's really good. Past that, I don't think there's a lot to bring in. The 1 Surgical Extraction is not too shabby here. That comes up in some weird corner case scenarios against Storm. and Dylan might bring in that as well.
What do we have on the other side here for Davis?
2 Massacre, 2 Dark Confidant, 2 Xantid Swarm, 3 Abrupt Decay, 2 Chain of Vapor, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 copies of Carpet of Flowers. I really like Carpet of Flowers in this matchup to overpower Soft Permission. And then past that, maybe the Abrupt Decays as answers to some of the threats, though I don't like playing that kind of game plan with Storm. I do not think that you're going to see something like Xantid Swarm because Dylan has he's likely to keep in his Lightning Bolts. So Xantid Swarm is unlikely to do anything, but I think the Carpet of Flowers is very helpful.
I think Carpet of Flowers is going to be quite good here. So we'll see how things do break here as these players will sideboard for game number 2. I am assuming that it will take longer than the game number 1. But you know what? If the game number 2 takes that long, that means we'll have a backup match.
And maybe another backup match.
Yeah, you can lock that in. We promise there will be a backup match if Jim is able to kill him very, very quickly. So we'll see what happens here between Storm and Blue-Red Delver. While we do wait, as you see, Jim is going to take a few more moments to sideboard here. We've got the Season 1 schedule for 2015 for you guys. Should be a lot of fun. We'll start things up in Columbus.
We're going to be hanging out a lot.
Yes, sir.
Columbus will be standard, and then a Legacy Open Series in Philadelphia. 2 weekends later, we're going to have a standard one in D.C. and then another Legacy Open Series in Indianapolis to close out January. We go to Houston for our first ever Open Series in Houston. That one will be standard. Los Angeles the following weekend. Baltimore, which will be our first ever Modern Open, a standard Grand Prix in Miami. Make sure to stay tuned to MagicGP.com for more information as we get closer to that event. Dallas the following weekend, which will be standard, and then the Invitational, which will be standard and Legacy with a standard Open Series. The end of March, me, you, and Matthias in the booth.
I'm looking forward to all of those events. I will be at just about all of them. So I'm, the ones that I have off, one for the brother's wedding at the end of February, and then that one there, standard Open, you and Matthias, me in Dallas. I'll be in Cleveland for the Grand Prix. First one since 2002.
I am not off for any of the shows in Q1.
Better buckle up. You'll be platinum right away at Delta, right after Q1.
Yeah, I'll be uranium on that airline pretty soon.
They will know you by name. Wow. Now, I'll tell you what, that's nice. That's a fun story right there. Apparently, Dylan Donegan is missing school to be here today.
Wow. As it with his parents' permission, or is he cutting class?
Tough to say. That would be a heck of a way to cut class.
Yeah.
Dylan, I heard you weren't in class today. Where are you? Well,
even in
Seattle.
Even in my rebellious days, I think taking a flight to Seattle would have been not in my wheelhouse.
I cut class in high school approximately one time. Mm-hmm. I was terrified to do so.
My senior year, Anand Correa and I spent a lot of time playing Magic when we should have been in high school. We cut a lot. Senior year was pretty rough.
Very nice.
Once you get that college acceptance letter, it's
all bets are off.
Who even cares?
Yeah. Do you know what happened when I cut class? There was a fire in my oven at home. So that's a good way to get caught cutting class is starting a fire. And then having the fire department come over when you panic for no reason when you should just close the oven and turn it off. And then they rip down all of the curtains in the kitchen. And then your mom comes home and says, "What the heck happened?" And then you have to admit that you cut class.
And set the house on fire.
Yes. I never cut class after that, ever again.
Yeah, that's not a good step one.
Nope, really wasn't. Well, apparently now we've been informed that Dylan has exams on Monday that he's red-eyeing back. And sounds like he's probably going to get an A on those. You can just go ahead and lock that in.
Hopefully they're not for penmanship.
Either way, I hope this weekend works out well for him as well as those exams, as it's going to be a Gitaxian probe here for the youngster, 17-year-old from North Carolina. Recently ungrounded, by the way.
Welcome back to the game.
Absolutely.
A less explosive hand for Jim this time, but still a very powerful one.
A Ponder, a Brainstorm, a Probe, a Cabal Ritual, along with an Infernal Tutor, and then just 2 lands there in Underground Sea and Misty Rainforest. So Probe is done resolving. Donegan is down to 18. Scalding Tar will put him down to 17. Time to search for land. It'll be an Underground Sea. Now, one thing again, he does have 4 copies of Cabal Therapy in his sideboard. Very powerful with Young Pyromancer, as we know.
And with Gitaxian Probe.
Yes, sir.
Remember when people in Legacy claimed they couldn't find room in their deck for Gitaxian Probe?
Actually, I do.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, that's when people still thought that Stifle was a thing.
Yeah, couldn't find room for Brainstorm. Just couldn't. Liked all my spells too much.
Well, Brainstorm's in the graveyard now. Davis is going to draw his own copy of Cabal Therapy, and he has a probe to go along with it. Well, here's the thing. We all learn from our mistakes. That's important in life.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Eventually, some slower than others.
This is true. Well, three Cabal Therapies total is what Donegan showed. He's got 2 more in his hand, along with the Days of Force and a young Pyromancer.
Though importantly for Dylan, the days in hand means that he's protected this turn from Jim's Cabal Therapy unless he's willing to try to go for a Dark Ritual, deploy a Lotus Petal. And this hand's hard to attack also because there's so much disruption.
I have been informed, Patrick, by one of our wonderful viewers that step 1 to skipping class is to go to McDonald's and don't mess with the oven. Yeah. I'd actually rather mess with the oven than go to McDonald's.
I'd rather be in school.
Yeah, fair. See if Jim is going to fire off a Cabal Therapy here.
It's tough because Dylan has the days in hand and nothing to do next turn anyway unless he rips specifically red mana. So it's very low cost for Dylan to daze a Cabal Therapy, untap, and then just cast Cabal Therapy again. Mm-hmm. So I think Jim may be better served trying to cast something like Ponder this turn rather than going for the Therapy.
Just giving it some thought. Again, he is working with perfect information due to the Gataxian probe.
But it's tough. Dylan's hand's just so good against Jim, especially with Dylan on the play.
His
here.
hand is really, really good, yeah. And if he peels a land to be able to catch young Pyromancer, his hand becomes great. Donegan trying to wait patiently as Davis thinks through this turn.
And this can be the whole game right here.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy gets played on that narrow of a margin that quickly, where if Jim does not cast the right spell this turn, he might not get another shot.
What to do for number 8 on our Season 4 leaderboard. All he needs is just a perfectly fine weekend to lock up his invite to the Players' Championship. He's going to go with a Ponder. It's going to get dazed. Passing the turn back. Will Davis over to Donegan. Donegan will draw a card. Didn't get a great look at it. But he's going to play a Cabal Therapy. We'll see what he names. He'll go with Infernal Tutor. The hand left over is Therapy, Ponder, along with the Cabal Ritual and a Misty Rainforest. Donegan will write the contents down, and I imagine pass the turn back.
This is not so bad for Jim. He has an opportunity next turn to Ponder and Cabal Therapy. Dylan will be working with very little information on the last copy of Cabal Therapy. I guess he can always name it for Cabal Ritual, rather. And Dylan will be out without Force of Will, presumably, if Jim goes ahead and casts the Therapy.
Lion's Eye Diamond the draw.
So even with this overload of disruption, Jim may be able to get through it.
Let's see which way he wants to go. Misty Rainforest. Sacrifice that.
And Jim definitely slowing down his pace of play compared to game 1, which was easy mode. This is going to be a lot harder.
Plenty of time. That's
that
for
is
sure.
true.
There is a Bayou. Again, Jim does have access to cards like Carpet of Flowers this weekend. This is a Ponder. Playing around days.
Because if the Therapy gets hit by days, Jim doesn't really care because that's just another piece of disruption that's out of the way.
But he needs that Ponder. His hand needs a little bit of help. He's looking at Carpet of Flowers along with Dark Ritual and a copy of Tropical Island.
So a lot of mana, and he can hope that, he can kind of leave these cards and hope that Dylan doesn't pressure him very quickly. And at that point, he's only one big draw away from being able to go off. But Jim may have to shuffle this away because he has no action right now. He has no shuffler in the middle of this Ponder. He has no fetch line in hand. So he has to take all these cards or none of them. And I think that's too much mana and too little action.
And he's going to go with none of them. So he'll shuffle those 3 cards away, present his deck for Donegan to cut, and a mystery card will come to Davis. Didn't get a great look at it. Looks like it was a copy of Ad Nauseam.
Well, that is the action.
Yeah. It doesn't take a ton for him to get his way there. Does he want to fire off a therapy is the question. He's leaning towards it.
I think therapy on Force of Will is still pretty reasonable.
Just feels safe.
Yep.
And here comes therapy. We'll see if it resolves first.
The other option is Jim can take the Cabal therapy and hope that Dylan has not found a blue card to pair with the Force of Will left in his hand, but that's awfully gutsy.
I would be surprised.
Well, it means the coast is definitely clear next turn if Dylan is just drawing, bolts and lands. It's possible, but I think the more conservative line of approach here is take the Force of Will, let Dylan therapy away your own Cabal ritual, and then hope to draw some rituals while Dylan's not really pressuring you.
Well, we will see exactly what decision Davis makes in just a moment here.
Oh, he went for the therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is still not so bad for Jim. He took the more aggressive line.
Force of Will, and Young Pyromancer. Those are the cards here for Donegan. And he'll just pass the turn back. Has not drawn the second land yet for his Young Pyromancer. Davis draws a swamp, but he can't go anywhere either because he knows what the opponent has.
He's got to find either a creature or another discard spell or a ritual to play over the top.
He'll just pass the turn back over to Donegan. What's different than game number one? I'll tell you that much. There's Dark Ritual. He'll just pass the turn back. So now both players are going to refuel.
I think Dylan with only 6 cards in the graveyard, so we can't Treasure Cruise right now.
Giving a long look to the hand here. Delver of Secrets.
Now, does Dylan want to clock him here, or does he want to flash by the therapy? It looks like he wants to get some pressure into play.
Brainstorm the draw here for Davis. Yeah, it's an interesting decision if you're supposed to flashback therapy there or not.
Well, I don't think Dylan can afford to wait all day.
No flip. Though you can start one heck of a therapy chain if he's able to draw the land. He can play Young Pyromancer, sacrifice the Delver to the therapy.
Oh, he can go after Jim's entire hand.
Because if the Delver wasn't there, he'd have to play Young Pyromancer, pass, and then do this stuff. Because he has the Delver, he can sacrifice that. It's a 1-1 anyway. It hasn't flipped. He can chain off if he'd like to. And it looks like he has some intentions of playing Young Pyromancer now that he's finally peeled a land.
And that's why Jim kept the Brainstorm in his hand last turn instead of just going really aggressive and trying to find a discard spell, because he knew of this possibility. And he needs to leave as much protection in his hand to keep the most valuable contents, which I had to imagine are the ad nauseum. That's the big one.
Yeah. Here comes Cabal Therapy now. It's Brainstorm in response. We'll see if this does resolve. It does actually make for an interesting situation, right? Where we could see Donegan say, "I'll Force Will your Brainstorm." We know he has a Force Will and other blue card. Says you don't get to hide anything, and now I'm going to shred your hand.
With 2 more therapies in the graveyard, I like dead-ending Jim right here.
Yeah.
He can't follow up with another Brainstorm response. He's only got the 1 blue mana because the other land is a Bayou. So it's unlikely he can do anything else to protect his hand. And it allows Jim to resolve a Brainstorm and then hide cards from your first therapy. And at that point, I think the incentives are in there to just say, you know what? You don't get this Brainstorm, and I'm going to clear out your hand.
Well, I like forcing there. We'll see. Make sure he triggers the Young Pyromancer, and he does. So now Cabal Therapy is going to resolve. I think the easy lead here is Cabal Ritual because you know he has that one. Yep, so that's going to go. And now he gets to shred him.
Yep.
Yeah, this ends up being a very, very good turn here for Donegan, especially if he wants to continue to move forward. Of course, the Young Pyromancer plus Cabal Therapy interactions really, really good for him. You sack a token, get a token. So you're not losing anything.
And if Jim has Poseidon Xantid Swarm, I think you're definitely going to see him cut him for game 3 if we get there. because Dylan with this Cabal Therapy package does not have to win on the back of counter spells.
Yep. So there go a bunch of cards. Donegan is left with some creatures in play, a way to close out the game. But it doesn't take many draw steps for Storm to get back into it. He's left Davis with a Dark Ritual and a Swamp. The draw was a Lotus Petal.
And the Lotus Petal is significant because it means if Jim finds Past in Flames, he is able to cast it. Before he was missing red mana.
Just going to pass the turn back and leave the land in his hand for now. You saw Donegan use Force of Will, removing Force of Will. Now here's Young Pyromancer. This is a Scalding Tarn. That's going to search up a land.
I think this has the indication of a treasure cruise coming.
Kind of written all over it, right? Beep, beep. 3 cards coming. 2 elemental tokens, too, from the Young Pyromancers. So Donegan's going to refuel. He'll attack here for 4. Davis is going to go down to 12. Davis will draw a card. It's a copy of Lion's Eye Diamond.
Past in Flames still a live draw if Dylan cannot find more counter spells.
Yep. Davis is going to pass the turn back. Donegan, draw. Looks like he's drawing quite a few lands at this point. But he'll start with a Brainstorm, so I take that back. Triggers there from Young Pyromancers, too. 3 cards coming. Of course, 2 are going to go back in just a moment. If he finds one more piece of permission, he should be good to go.
Yep. I mean, he's got Jim covered in 2 turns. So as long as he can find something to fight over a potential Past in Flames or some other combo kill, he should be fine.
Swiftspear is going to come down. Donegan going to sacrifice a Flooded Strand very quickly. Looks like he may have another spell to play here. But you can tell he's trying to close this game out just as fast as he can. Yep, there's a Brainstorm. More triggers. Prowess of the Swiftspear, too. 2 cards will have to go back. Looks like he's a little bit short.
Yeah, he almost just generated a kill this turn.
Yep.
I think this is 10 points of damage coming across.
Yes, sir. Davis is down to 2. He'll draw a card. That's Misty Rainforest. He will look at his hand and come to the same realization that I think we have.
Your hand is just mana.
He'll play a Lion's Eye Diamond. And I actually kind of like this. He plays a Lotus Petal. Here's a Dark Ritual. You get to pick up info.
Yep. See if he's willing. At what point is he willing to pull the trigger? Or maybe he has some weird sideboard card that you get to know about. You know?
Yeah, that may seem like it's nothing, but if you pick up the fact, if he plays any counter spell, it's like, okay, I know that for the next game.
Yep. If he casts a Flusterstorm there on your Dark Ritual, great. If he casts an Annul on your Lion's Eye Diamond, I mean, there's always information to be picked up there.
Either way, Dylan Donegan tie things up here, and he and Jim Davis will head to game number 3 between Blue, Red, Delver, and Storm. See if either player is going to change anything up here in just a moment. We will discuss Season 2 of the Open Series as well for 2015, as that was announced just a little bit ago. We have our dates and all that stuff ready to rock. We're going to be a shorter season, but we'll start things up in Syracuse and hopefully take a trip to the Dinosaur Barbecue again.
Oh, that was a really fun place. And then Providence in April for another Standard Open Series. Cleveland.
Ever heard of it?
Believeland. We'll be heading there at the end of April there. Standard in Seattle. Really nice back-to-back set of opens for you there.
Really good for me,
From
yeah.
Cleveland and living in Seattle. And then we have an Open Series in Dallas, Legacy in Worcester, Massachusetts. And then the second Invitational, which will be Columbus at the Origins Game Fair, will be a Modern Open Series with Modern and Standard as the Invitational formats.
It's a shorter season. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to go some places that we haven't really gotten the opportunity to go to very much. Cleveland, for example. We're in Seattle right now, so we'll be back here. I'll be doing battle in that one. So that'll be fun. You and Matthias will handle the coverage, and I will I have to improve on 4-3 and 2.
4-3 and 2, not a hard record to improve on.
Yeah.
For example, 0-1 drop is an improvement over 4-3 and 2.
True, very true. A hard record to obtain, though, is 4-3 and 2.
It is tough to get that record without getting disqualified. That's definitely true.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really worked for that one.
A testament to your perseverance.
I had some really some bright eyes when I was 4-0 in the Legacy Open.
Yeah.
I bet you guys were a little surprised by that there in the booth.
No.
Thought I had a little shot there. Reality came in quick, though.
And then you left, still in the contention for
I
cash.
had things to do, like eat ice cream, among others. You can't blame a man for fleeing the scene to eat ice cream.
No, I mean, I can imagine your trainer was not thrilled about that.
Well, this week sucked. But most weeks do suck. So that's fine. Full disclosure, yesterday I had a cookies and cream milkshake. I apologize for nothing.
Okay.
It had espresso in it.
Well, you don't have to apologize to me, you know.
Well, I went to the gym at 7 a.m. this morning.
Okay.
I undid the damage of that shake,
Well,
I think.
maybe.
I think. How much damage can a shake do?
Oh, I mean, a lot. I mean, that's kind of up to you, right? But it's a lot.
I guess it depends on how big the shake is.
And
perhaps.
how cookies and cream oriented is as well.
Well, there was quite a bit of that.
Historically, those two words have not really gone that well with diet.
Oh,
Cookies, cream.
Cookies and or cream,
It's not great.
let alone together. It's not my fault it's the best ice cream.
It's really good, but
No, that's selling it short. It's the best one.
It's at odds with the diet.
It's the best one. I know you like your vanilla, but it's the best one.
No, cookies and cream is awesome. Maybe the best one, but at odds with the diet. It's okay.
True. I paid the consequences. Both players going to lay out 7 cards. We'll see what Davis is capable of. He had turn 1 kill in game 1. Got his hand destroyed by Cabal Therapy in game number 2. Probably going to have to work for it in game number 3 here.
It's always tougher post-board. These blue-red Delver decks really uptick the amount of disruption they have. Usually see Flusterstorms, Pyroblast, Dylan touching black this weekend for Cabal Therapy. That card is also not good for Jim.
And we've seen some players do this with this blue-red Delver deck. Just a small splash of black. You know, 1 underground stand there that you can fetch for. And then the 4 Cabal Therapies on the board. I think of Owen Turtenwald doing that at Grand Prix, New Jersey.
I'm a big fan because most of the time, these blue-red Delver decks, they overload on counter spells against combo decks. And so your defense grids, sometimes your Carpet of Flowers, things that generate mana or make it hard for counter spells to work, they can shut out your whole sideboard plan. I always felt like the best recipe for having a good matchup with a deck like Storm is have a mixture of things. Have discard plus counter spells plus meddling mages. Tax the number of different types of cards they have to answer, because post-board they're usually good at answering one class of card, but rarely are they good at answering a bunch of different classes of cards. You can see the trouble here. Jim has Xanadu Storm in his sideboard. That's really good if the deck is all on counter spells. Carpet of Flowers is good against soft permission. But nothing in his sideboard is that good against Cabal Therapy. He just has to kind of suck it up and hope that he can slog his way through it. That's very hard to do.
Let's see what Dylan's able to find here with his 6 cards. Is he happier? Happy enough. He's going to keep it. It's a big match here for him.
Yeah, it's not only can he potentially move to 6-0 here and still give him a shot at the Players' Championship, the person he's playing against is someone who he would be well served to knock down.
Absolutely. Taxing Probe. That'll show you a Pyroblast, a Surgical Extraction, along with Scalding Target, Daze, a Brainstorm, and a Treasure Cruise. So not the best hand we've ever seen.
No interaction turn 1, and not even a guarantee that there's much interaction past that. The Surgical Extraction and the Pyroblast, Jim's got to cooperate a little bit to make those cards work. And one day it's something that Storm can pretty easily beat most of the time.
You see Davis going to write these cards down, make sure he's got the information. He'll draw a card. Don't think we have a turn 1 kill this game. There's an Underground Sea. He's got to see he's got a Brainstorm and a Ponder, ad nauseum 2. Looks like there's an Infernal Tutor hanging out over there. Actually, let's make it 2 Infernal Tutors. So his hand's got some work to do. Fortunately for him, he's got some pieces to sculpt with.
He needs mana. So Dark Rituals, Cabal Rituals, Lotus Petals even, I think he's going to keep a premium on those kind of cards as he's pondering and brainstorming to improve his hand.
It's a Ponder. It's resolving. We know that. Mr. Rainforest is 1. Ponder is 2. Lotus Petal is 3. Consult the grip of those other 5 cards. Brainstorm, ad nauseum. 2 copies of Infernal Tutor and a Misty Rainforest.
This is a pretty soft Ponder, but I think Jim may keep it. Again, the Lotus Petal, the mana is the thing he's really in the market for. And he gets another shot to run it back with the Ponder. If he doesn't like his next set of cards, he can just shuffle away.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that Ponder, actually.
This looks like a weak Ponder, but I think given the nature of Dylan's hand, it's pretty good.
You know you're not underneath any immediate duress. He will keep it. And he'll pass it back.
The only real risk with this, keeping this Ponder and saying the cards the way that Jim did, is if Dylan gets frisky and just decides, in your draw step, I'm going to surgical away your ponder after you draw, Jim does lose the ponder that he kept as the top card of his deck.
And his deck shuffles.
Yeah. So
I thought he might.
yeah, it looked like, Dylan had the body mannerisms of someone who was about to stop someone in the draw, but it looks like he's letting Jim go.
Davis, play the Misty. Perhaps it's time to ponder, absolutely. So the first card is going to be Lotus Petal if this does resolve, but Donegan's going to very quickly sacrifice his Scalding Tarn. I have a feeling we're going to see Pyroblast take care of that ponder.
Yeah, there's no promise that Jim presents another blue card for the rest of the game, so get that Pyroblast out of your hand while the getting's good.
There it is. Not a lot of great cards counter in the matchup, but it's better than, Lightning Bolt, something like that.
Anytime you trade 1-for-1 with Storm, it's something of a victory because they need a critical mass of cards to go off, so yes, there's no guarantee Pyroblast will be good, but if you do catch a Ponder or a Brainstorm, it's great.
Speaking of Ponder, here it is for Donegan. That's going to resolve, so we'll take a look at the top three. Flooded Strand among them. He very quickly sets him back, so he found something he likes.
Probably into land number 2 would be my guess.
Yep, that's Flooded Strand. He'll deploy that. Pass the turn back over to Davis. Davis is going to draw that Lotus Petal now. Has the Misty Rainforest he brings to the front. We'll see if he's going to cast a Ponder here.
I really like Brainstorm in this spot. There's some chance that Dylan decides to daze this to try to deny Jim a fetch land activation to deny him the shuffle, but Jim already has another Misty Rainforest in hand. And the worst case scenario is your Brainstorm resolves, which is pretty sweet.
Gataxian Probe, along with another copy of Infernal Tutor and a Dark Ritual, are the cards that Davis has picked up. It looks like he might put double Tutor back. Don't want a ton of those.
Not only that, but he has to be mindful of the surgical extraction as well. If he's in a spot where he has to do something like cast Infernal Tutor or revealing a Dark Ritual, then all of a sudden you do risk getting tagged with your Infernal Tutor randomly getting tagged with a surgical extraction, which is really bad if Jim has another one left over in his hand. And that's part of the problem with playing this game is Jim never knows when Dylan might say, all right, stop, I'm going to surgical extraction at random and hope that I hit something.
He doesn't want to give anything away either.
Yeah.
Body language-wise, or drawing his Ponder on that second turn very slowly, hoping he doesn't tag it with surgical extraction. Donegan with the Brainstorm. That's going to resolve, so 3 cards coming. 2 cards going back here. Well, that's done resolving. 4 cards in the graveyard now. 5 if you want to count the Flooded Strand that's in play. So he's working his way towards that Treasure Cruise that's in hand too.
Even though it doesn't look like things are going pretty well for Jim, as long as he's under no pressure, he has a lot of time to sculpt a hand.
Don't know who the favorite is in this situation. It's definitely up in the air, but if you are Jim, you are happy that there's not some Swift Spear or Delver out there beating you down.
You don't know how good Dylan's hand is exactly, but as long as he's not putting you under any pressure, you're not in a rush. When the Swift Spears and the Insectile Aberrations are starting to hit you, that's when you kind of have to say, it doesn't really matter what Dylan's hand looks like, I have to just hope for the best. And that's not a great position for Storm to be in.
Perhaps it's Cabal Therapy time. It'll be a Ponder instead. That's resolving too. Take a look at the top 3. See if he likes what he sees. He'll place him back. He will keep. He'll pass the turn back. Davis is going to sacrifice Misty Rainforest. He knows what's up there, so he'll sacrifice this in the upkeep. Time to dig a land out of the deck. We'll see what kind he'd like. Again, he does have some mana that can tap for green if he has a card like Carpet of Flowers.
And these blue-red Delver decks typically do not play Wasteland, especially so when they've moved to black. The mana can't really handle it, so Jim doesn't have to concern himself with that. He just has to decide what color of mana he wants to go get.
Underground Sea is the selection here for Davis. Hasn't drawn a card yet for the turn, but he will now. Polluted Delta is what he's found. He has that Cataxing Probe in his hand if he wants to see what the heck is going on over there. He's got a hand that could actually start considering going off. Again, you see the Infernal Tutor, the Dark Ritual, Lotus Petal, the Ad Nauseam, and a Polluted Delta, so he can generate some mana.
I think this is a hand that could definitely win the game if Dylan has nothing in his hand, or just the days that we know about from a while ago. But
yeah, he can work his way through that. But the entire time he has to worry about Surgical Extraction, or at least consider it. Now, it's possible that it's been moved away because of the Brainstorm. But here's a Probe. No, it's still there. That looks to be a pretty good hand. You got a Force, a Daze, 2 Dazes, in fact, a Probe, along with a Treasure Cruise and that Surgical Extraction. Pretty good hand there for Donegan.
Still a little soft. You know, 1 Cabal Therapy and Jim may be able to go.
Yep.
But as long as Dylan is clutching that Force Will, he should be safe.
And all he needs now is a clock. Though he is right near Treasure Cruise territory now.
And next turn he can Gataxian Probe and then cast it for 1.
Misty Rainforest to draw there for Davis. Lance, are not what he's looking for. There's Misty. I'm just going to pass the turn back over to Donegan. Donegan will draw a card. Looked like it was a copy of Cabal Therapy. Here's Cataxian Probe. Says, I want to see what you're working with. Well, here it is. Petal, Ritual, Tutor, Ad Nauseam, and a Polluted Delta.
Again, just the Ad Nauseam as the only card of substance here. The rest just mana.
Yep.
And if you're in Jim's spot right now, you know if Dylan finds a copy of Cabal Therapy, you're going to be hard-pressed to win.
Yep. He can go after those Infernal Tutors. That's terrifying. There's Treasure Cruise. And Donegan, even though he mulliganed this game, he's starting to really pick up some steam now.
Doesn't really feel like it, you know? It does not feel like a mulligan. But that is the nature of Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, he's getting to play. There's a land, Flooded Strand. Taking a look at his pad to see what to name with this Cabal Therapy. The compelling name here for me is just Infernal Tutor, then he's Surgical it.
And then just dare him to try to win through Ad Nauseam.
Yeah. I don't know if that's, I'm not entirely sure that's correct, but I mean, I do have a Force of Will too in my hand and a couple of copies of Daze. Infernal Tutor is a pretty powerful and scary card. Maybe you take Dark Ritual, maybe. But mana doesn't seem to be the bottleneck here. He's gonna go with Infernal Tutor. Quickly gonna sacrifice Flooded Strand. Rip Sleeve, okay. So we'll get that replaced right away.
That's a weird thing that Magic players do. I never quite understood it. When the sleeve breaks, they just rip it all together.
I do it too.
I do it too. I just don't understand why.
It's just because you don't want it around and like for some reason maybe it finds its way back in your deck box or something.
Sure.
Yeah. Plus it just kind of feels good to rip those. Makes you feel mighty and strong. Just tearing through that plastic.
I never really felt that way.
Well, different strokes, different folks.
Right.
The Cage. Working down past In Flames now.
Yeah, the outs are being cut off.
Davis will draw. But what will he draw? He Ponder. And here's Surgical Extraction in the draw step. It says Infernal Tutor, give me that. And the rest of them too. Ponder was a draw there for Davis, which Donegan of course knows now. So Donegan will grab Davis's deck. Get those Infernal Tutors out of it. and move forward accordingly.
So he's leaving Jim in a spot where there aren't that many cards that matter left in the deck. There are, you see the ad nauseum in hand, that's one of them. Past in Flames, that's another one. Although that's shut off for the time being.
Yep.
And if Jim doesn't have his Abrupt Decays in, then that card shut off. So you're looking at basically just winning manual style with Tendrils. Not the easiest thing to do.
So Surgical is done extracting away those Infernal Tutors. Davis's draw again for the turn was a Ponder, and it's going to be casting that right now. So take a look at the top three. An Island is number 1, a Cabal Ritual is number 2, and a Brainstorm is number 3. Jim eyeing up that Brainstorm there.
A Brainstorm with a Shuffler already in play is really attractive, and then he has the option next turn of taking the Ritual or not, depending on what Dylan's up to. Looks like he just wants to shuffle straight away.
Yep. I believe he took the Brainstorm there. Going to sacrifice the Misty Rainforest, get a land out of his deck. It'll be a Volcanic Island. Shuffle up, present it over to Donegan, and get to brainstorming here. He needs a lot to go right now.
Yes, this is going to be tough. If he finds a way to knock the Force of Wills out of Dylan's hand, now there's still the Dazes to be concerned with. He could conceivably try to make a go of it this turn.
Yep. And the tough thing here for Jim is, given that Dylan just did resolve a Treasure Cruise, among other things, is now he's going to aggressively Force of Will that Brainstorm, a play that I actually kind of like.
I do too. Jim's hand's bad right now.
And he knows it.
You know it's not good.
Yep. Pass the turn back. Dylan knows his hand.
Yep.
So he knows that he can make that play. Now here, oh boy.
This is another reason to go after the Brainstorm. Make sure that you keep the information of your hand intact.
Oh, there goes ad nauseum.
And now we're looking at just Tendrils drawn and cast for enough Storm if Jim cannot get this Grafdigger's Cage off the table.
Preordain the draw. There that is. Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond. I don't need either one of you.
And it almost feels like Jim can't even afford to cast these cantrips. I feel like he needs to keep everything intact. So in the event that he draws Tendrils, he has a shot at it. Every time he casts a cantrip and then dead ends, it's pretty rough.
Buy you the draw.
I think Jim's odds of winning this game are very, very low regardless, but I do think as long as Dylan's not doing anything, all right, never mind.
I was going to say, perhaps Dylan's sideboarded out all of his win conditions, but that's not true. Pluto Delta the draw.
What a card.
And to me, it's just about time, basically.
Yeah. Whenever something is cheap and says, when you cast a spell, do X in Legacy, and X is not on diminishing returns, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. You know, I remember Drew Levin, once this card got printed, Drew Levin basically saying this completes a cycle of, the awesome 2-mana creatures in Legacy. Green has Tarmogoyf, blue has Snapcaster Mage, white has Stoneforge Mystic, and black has Dark Confidant. This completes the cycle. And some people were a little skeptical about that, but given what we've seen over the past handful of months, oh no, it's true.
I think this card is definitely more powerful than Dark Confidant in Legacy because it fits so naturally into pre-existing Legacy play patterns. It's really powerful to have Dazes in your deck alongside Young Pyromancer. The same is not true in the same way with Dark Confidant.
Sure.
Attention Magic players, the standard challenge.
It's powerful. It's here to stay for a while. People have finally found a home for this thing. David's going to draw a card. It's a copy of Duress. Don't think he can do anything with that.
I mean, I think Jim needs to basically say go here, hope he survives, and then hope the top of his deck is exceedingly generous to him.
Yeah.
And I think that Duress adding to the Storm count means that Jim needs to just hold it, and that's what he's doing.
Donegan going to draw a card very quickly, sacrificing that Scalding Tarn.
Now, Jim might not get to untap here,
Very true.
but I like the attempt here by Jim of saying, you know what, if I draw the right mixture of cantrips all in a row, maybe I can get to a sufficient level of storm.
Gitaxian Probe. There's the hand. Donegan actually paying mana for the probe as opposed to life.
Well, he's at 11. He's got to be worried about his own life total as it relates to Tendrils of Agony. If Jim just draws it next turn, it could get a little hairy.
Yep. All aboard. 2, 3, 4, 5. Puts you to 5. What's the draw? Lotus Petal. That's not going to do it. Dylan Donegan is going to win this match over Jim Davis. Blue Red Delver will take down Stormer for number 14 on our Open Series leaderboard here in Season 4. He's off to the start he had to have. He's 6-0.
Got a shot, and a win over Jim Davis especially valuable, as that's one of the people he could hypothetically leapfrog. It would take quite the mathematical anomaly in this tournament for that to happen, but Dylan doing what he can, 6-0.
Yeah, every point matters at this point, and for him and Andrew Tenjum, all those guys can do is win. That's all they can concern themselves about. If the people above them lose, Jim Davis, Kent Ketter, and a bevy other people, that's cool. But they're both doing their job so far. Donegan here at 6-0. Very impressive for the 17-year-old.
Yeah, and